Yeah. As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission. I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains, haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah.
You're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, your home for community radio.
Good morning, ladies. Powerful women. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Wonderful.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you all. If you could just take like maybe 30 seconds or maybe a minute to just introduce yourselves to the listening public. My name is Barbara Fair, and I'm born and raised in New Haven. Doing social justice work seemed like my entire life, and I know it'll definitely end doing this work. So thank you very much for showing up today, ladies. Want to go to Trinae?
Hello, everyone. Representative Trinae McGee. I currently represent the 116th District, which is majorly West Haven, a little area of New Haven. With redistricting, it would only be West Haven. Born and raised in West Haven, and it's an honor to represent the district that I was raised in. And by career and passion as well, I'm an artist, I'm an actress and writer, producer, and that's it.
Thank you. Representative Porter, you're next on my list.
Thank you and good morning, and thank you for having us, Miss Barbara. My name is Robin Porter. I am the state representative for the 94th District, representing Hamden and New Haven. I chair the Labor Committee, and I also sit on the Appropriations and Judiciary Committees. I am a proud mom and grandmother, and just a lover of all things and all people.
Thank you. Barbara, you're next, and then Sauda.
Yeah, hi, I'm Barbara Walker, born and raised in New Haven, former retired probation officer, now getting back into social services issues and the things I love to do. Former alderperson of the Ward 30. Just trying to get back out there and make a difference in my community.
Thank you. Ms. Baraka.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Sauda Baraka, and I'm a longtime community activist out of Bridgeport. I've been working in New Haven for probably 15 years with Believe in Me Empowerment. I'm the board chair. I've also served in political office. I was on the Board of Education for 12 years and also the chairperson of the Board of Education, as well as I served 19 years on the Bridgeport Library Board and was the vice president of that board. I am a retired chief probation officer, having managed and supervised the Bridgeport office. Community is my passion. I work for the people. I'm committed to the people, and I'm committed to change in our community for the betterment of our families and our children.
Thank you. And now you can see why I have these powerful women today to talk about issues having to do with our people in our communities and our families. So I want to start off, I know I'm going to have to go quick because I want to spend a lot of time at the end talking about this election season. But before then, I want to talk about, and I guess Robin probably have more update information, the methadone clinic that they're trying to bring into New Haven. Again, trying to bring another methadone program in New Haven that we've already did research and found that it's service mostly white male men from the suburbs. And we already have a couple of those clinics here now who have brought so much destruction to our communities, one right next door to an elementary school where suburbs were not ever even thought about, yet we have it. And now they want to bring another one. And so I just want to have Robin update us on that. And my feeling is until we have the same resistance that the suburbs have, we will forever get anything that they don't want in their community will be pushed to our cities. And how do we get the power to stop that. Thank you, Robert. So if you can update us on what's going on now with the methadone clinic they're trying to put right on Whaley Avenue.
I will. I just wanted to jot down something because I want to circle back on the latter piece of your statement. We actually had a community meeting, community forum last night that was held at Lincoln Bassett Community School. The mayor came out, myself, Senator Winfield was there. We had some alders that came, all the Devin Absalon Smith. We had Alder Edwards. There were some other alders there that weren't in the district, but definitely are concerned about what's happening. And there has been a groundswell of community engagement around this. I really have to give credit to Newhallville Hamden Strong, the group that was formed to address this issue that is being spearheaded and led by Jeanette Sykes. Couture has done a lot of work in getting things out, educating people, showing up on shows like this, having things written up in the New Haven Independent. There has been some news and media coverage early on, but the community has definitely voiced their opinion around not wanting a methadone clinic at 794 Dixwell Avenue, and for reasons that we all can understand. Many letters have been written. They have been in constant contact with the mayor. There's been some communication at the state level with DMHS, Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, as well as DPH, Department of Public Health. We are monitoring and keeping eyes on this closely because what the mayor reported last night was that they are still in conversation around finding the App Foundation another building so that they can not occupy 794. Dixwell was then able to disclose a lot of information around that because, they're in the process of trying to make something happen there. My message to the community was that, we need to amp up what we've been doing. We need to have more press and media coverage. We need to actually expand our ally support because, I gave them the example. People may feel like, well, that has nothing to do with me. It's not in my community, but we know what happened with the opioid epidemic. It didn't matter till it hit a certain demographic. And what I can tell you is sooner or later, it will knock on your door. So we want people, not just from New Haven, not just from Hamden, but people around this state that believe and support what we are saying to come out and stand with us. Because you're right, and I was corrected last night and I need to find the article because I read an article that was sent to me around the CVS at Whaley and Orchard. And the paper said, this person said he had bought the building and that he was going to bring a methadone clinic there. The mayor said it's not a methadone clinic, that they don't, use methadone, it's Suboxone. So, okay, we need to figure out, do they need to go back and clarify that in the paper and correct it? But we don't need a methadone clinic. And you want to talk about the power to stop it. Yes, I made the point that, if we had been in a white area, suburban area, that the minute that hit the paper, they would have been out there with their signs, their bullhorns. They would have been marching up and down in front of that CVS, up and down, Dixwell, saying absolutely not. But that's part of it, Ms. Barbara. I think the biggest piece of this is we continue to be subjected to this kind of decimation of our community because we are not voting. Your vote matters. And if you don't vote, you don't matter. And we had 535,000 people that didn't vote. And I want to say 2020. That's 500,000 people. So I'm all for registering people to vote, but I think we need to do a much better job at activating the registered voters that we have and getting them to the polls. So,
and with that, educating them, because we also want informed voters. We don't want people just going out voting just to be saying I voted. We need them to be informed voters, and a part of that information is educating them on how to vote. Because what I've done for years and without ever realizing, I would just push lever A, and there's all these people that I voted for that I really didn't intend to vote for, but I didn't know any better. I seen the person I wanted to vote for and they was on that line. So I just pushed the lever for everybody. And so that's another thing. A lot of these legislators are staying in office for decades because we don't have the information about how do we vote for the people we want and do not include people in that vote that we definitely did not want to vote for. So we have a lot of education of our voters to be doing too. And we have to make sure we have people that people want to vote for, because another reason people don't vote is not because they're lazy or uninvolved. It's like, I don't see anybody I want to vote for. So what am I going out for? So there's a lot of stuff we got to do in our communities to make that vote count.
I
So
agree.
thank
And
you.
education is key. Absolutely. We
So
need
thank you for
informed
that.
voters. You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Okay. Another thing before you go, and of the ladies, we're going to get to other parts, but I wanted to get these out real quick before we start talking about election year and other things going in our community. Can you give us an update on what's going on with Randy Cox? And for those who don't know, just give a little something about
Well, Randy Cox
Randy
is a
Cox
young man who is 36 years old, was taken into police custody in my district. No, no fight, no aggression on his part. Everything was handled quite peacefully and decently and in order. He was removed from a patrol car, as my understanding, put in a paddy wagon. He was handcuffed. There was no seatbelt, so he wasn't restrained. And a car came out, and the police officer that was driving the van says that he, slammed on brakes in order to avert an accident. And unfortunately, Randy went headfirst into that steel door of the van, and he is currently paralyzed from his chest down. And he's been in and out of the hospital. He's fighting infections, temperature, things that go on with your body when you don't have full faculty over your body. And it's been a back and forth thing. The attorneys just came out and they are suing the city for $100 million just to cover what they feel would be, I'd say, baseline. And it was reported during the press conference that we just had this week that it would take about $20 to $30 million, just baseline care for him. Nothing fancy, no bells, no whistles, just a baseline care. And not to even mention, what he is going through emotionally and spiritually, and having to deal with the fact that he was a young and vibrant young man who now may have to be taken care of by his family, predominantly and primarily his mom, for the rest of his life. So that is where we are, and just really fighting to make sure that this never happens again, because there have been many Randy Cox, not this particular injury, but there have been injuries, there have been deaths, and we just really need to address what's going on in the Black community when it comes to policing and our humanity, because at the end of the day, this is rooted and grounded in humanity and treating the people the way that you would want to be treated, and really living up to that oath to serve and protect, no matter what the zip code is.
Thank you very much for that. I wanted to, another thing to tie into our community that all of us can speak to is the issue of youth violence. And I wanted to hear from everyone their ideas around what can we do, because what I hear a lot of are those knee-jerk reactions from people in our community that really concern me. And their knee-jerk reactions like, we got to get tougher on the kids, we got to get tougher gun laws, we have to put them in jail with no bail. These are the kind of things that I hear from people in our community about our children. And it's a concern for me because when I spend all this time up in Hartford, I'm learning that when we ask for things, they will clearly pass them, but they're going to selectively enforce them in our communities. It's going to be our kids that are going to suffer from it. So that's why I wanted us, to just, let's brainstorm about what other people can think about as a response to the youth violence. What is it that we're not doing? I want to start with Barbara, and Barbara Walker, because you're part of probation too. So I know some of these people must have come through your system. And as a
Well, I think,
community member, period, really.
right, that, I just think they're not reaching them where they're at. And they're criminalizing everything. And then when you do have viable programming that's created by us, for us, once it becomes successful, that's when they pull the funding. And Saula can speak to exactly what we're talking about. I don't know if any of you remember when we had children of incarcerated parents, we called the CIP to take away the stigma. So that was birthed out of this office. And some of the things that I wasn't directly connected to, Sauda was. Maybe she could tell you a little bit more about it better than I can. But I think having that type of program, and that was created for us and by us, and that was very, very successful, is something that's needed till this day. So, Sauda, can you kind of speak on that and how we came about doing that?
Sure. We ran a program for 5 years called Reading for Reasoning for Children of Incarcerated Parents, with the understanding that if we were able, it was actually the first phase of it. So it was a culturally based program that the foundation was the Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, and each day carried the principle and along with the curriculum set up so that we're reading material that has some relationship to the principal, and helping the children, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders to learn to love to read, because reading is fundamental and it's the basis of whatever else you're going to stand on. And then we also had a clinical psychologist and an MSW on staff to deal with any psychologicals, because we, children who are who come out of environments that are stressful and trauma filled have to have support. So we did wraparound services for the children. We had one-on-one counseling, and we did group counseling. We had them do journaling, and our case workers, our case managers reviewed the journals so that we could build programming around what we saw as children needs, as their needs, things that we saw manifesting out of these journals. And what we found is that, one, the behavior changed. In school, they're better. They were better behaved. They participated in classroom work. They learned to love to read. In fact, they started choosing their own books. They loved the interaction. I did one special program with the boys. It was actually poetry, but I called it rap. And I went back to people like Conti Cullen and a lot of our historical writers during the Black Renaissance. But I didn't call it poetry for them. And we would recite it. And we went all the way up to present day with Jay-Z and some of a lot of that of their poetry, because that's what it is. I don't care what you call it, it's still poetry. And the boys really enjoyed it. They started writing their own, and they were empowered. They even created their own student government. They empowered themselves. And when they went back to school, it showed. They learned how to deal with the issues that they had been struggling with. And then we helped them with the education piece. So now they're reading, because some of the kids came to us and they couldn't read, but they left us reading, and it empowered them. So it went to class. A lot of our 8th graders actually got into some of the better schools in New Haven. Now, this is what happened, why the program was not funded after 5 years. And we also had a Yale study done to show our successes. We had one of the reviewers, now mind, this is after 5 years, say, well, isn't Kwanzaa a religion? No, it's not a religion. Take a moment and read what Dr. Karenga wrote, and you will know that it's not a religion. So this is some of what happens when we are successful. We get pushback from the people who are funding, and we weren't even getting a lot of money for this program, but we were showing really great success. But I wanted to just add a little bit to what you were saying. Having been in both on the probation side, education, and then alternative learning. One of the issues that comes out of our community, remember, our communities, everything was stripped of them. In Bridgeport, I'll speak from Bridgeport. When the Black migration occurred from the South to the north, and the cities became filled with people, Black people specifically. You had the white flight into the suburbs. So as the white flight moved into the suburbs, the defunding occurred. So they pulled money out of the school systems. They pulled money out. The factories and businesses started closing up, folding up slowly. So now you have no jobs. You have a very poor education system, and you don't have any support. So you get the change in direction, and you get the police. You get schools that are set up like mini prisons, and you have people going directly at our children. And we can pinpoint the moment that happened in our urban communities, the very moment when that changed. So what we have to do is, one of the things that Bridgeport did, we were the second school district in the entire country. And I'm gonna tell you, it took 12 years to do this. And you would think that because I'm just gonna add this, you would think that because you have people that look like you sitting at the table with you, they would understand what's necessary. No, and I agree with you, sister, because these folk that look like us don't have our best interests at heart. And we really have to become discerning voters. We have to be able to go to the poll. Education is important. But the point I'm making is that we were the second district in the state in the entire country, second district, to require that students graduate with either taking African American studies or Caribbean Latinx studies. And we had to fight like we were committing some crime to make this happen, because majority of the children who attend our public schools are Black and Hispanic. So why would they not graduate with with knowledge of their people? This is the war we're in, the battles and the war that we're in to save our people. And education is important. What sister in Georgia is doing, Stacey Abrams, with her playbook. If you haven't got her playbook, I'm telling you now, go get her playbook. It is on the internet and read it. We're using it in Bridgeport to build capacity in our community to be able to change the politics of our city. And that's and she's showing us the way. But this is everything you said is absolutely on target, and this is what we have to do, and this is how we make a change for our people in our community, because nobody else is going to do it but us.
You're right. Thank you so much for that. And like the title of our show, this is about Black women empowering Black women, because like you said, we have to do the work. No one else is going to do it for us. So with that, I'm going to bring in our youngest person in the Connecticut legislation. And that's what we're really hoping for, to get more and more young people who are intelligent as Trinae is, and know what has to be done, and will decide to serve with people like Robin guiding her. So Ms. McGee, will you come in and give us what you think we're not doing right when it comes to our kids, our children?
Sure.
And what can we do better?
Sure, and thank you so much for having me. I'm just honestly just absorbing like a sponge, taking in everything I possibly can. This conversation is empowering to me, so it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. As a huge proponent of the arts, I believe the arts is medicinal, and I've seen arts be extrapolated from our communities. Gen Z and millennials are naturally creative. A large part of, I think statistically, they say that like over 50% of millennials, even though they have jobs, are in some way content creators. So they're producing things for musicians, they're writing, poetry, as well as Gen Z. They spend a lot of time on TikTok. And I don't know if you've ever been on TikTok, but TikTok is like kind of a beast. Like there are so many elements to it. And they're producing music and dance and rhythm every single day to sort of, release and interpret things. And so I've always believed that the arts really is one of the most powerful ways to combat some of the challenges that we face within our communities. And oftentimes we don't have access to the arts. They'll put football in our communities, but they won't put dance. They won't put visual arts. They won't put creative writing, literature, like all of those powerful things. And I have an acting studio, so sometimes like I'll leave the door open and just talk to young guys. And occasionally there'll be a young man say, I've never acted before, but I think I'll be good at it. And then kids are in these environments and they're so extremely talented, but they wouldn't know they had that ability if they didn't have that opportunity. So I think when kids are given multiple resources and access to so many different things, it obviously it takes them out of elements, not only physically, but even creatively in imagination. They find outlets in the creative space that helps them to stay out of violent places. I was a theater teacher in the New Haven public school system, and I taught through Lone Wolf Theater, and we traveled around the state. And one of the programs that I was most proud of was our after school program, because we had a lot of latchkey kids. And so kids had the opportunity to choose between like band, and there was like some form of graffiti art in theater. And a lot of what kids were creating or writing or directing was based around their lives. And it was more than a coping mechanism. Not only did it help them cope, but it actually built emotional intelligence. So it helped them to stabilize and control their emotions. And that to me, I think is so important. But then when you look at where, acting classes are or dance classes are, we have a wealth of dance classes, but I mean like acting classes and poetry and creative writing, a lot of them are in the suburbs. And they're well funded because a lot of them are funded by their parents or private sources or businesses. And then our communities, like I said earlier, the first thing that they come to do is take away the arts. And I think the arts gives a lot of our kids access. But even football players take ballet for balance. So I think with kids having more access to many different things, it takes them creatively out of violent spaces. And also, I think there's this I love to share this statistic because to me it sort of conveys the message of where young people are. And between 67 and 75% of millennials will buy a product from a company if they know that a percentage of the profit goes to a nonprofit organization that deals with something they truly care about. So, for example, anytime I'm in the store and I can contribute $1 to St. Jude, I will. But it was cool to find out that people my age do that all the time. Like whether it's for urban community gardens or animals or the environment, we'll donate because we really care. And so I think a large part of media and society has sort of made us to believe that we're dealing with like a violent, not able to communicate, not able to express himself generation, when in reality, statistics tell us that, in fact, we are very caring and empathetic. And, we may not take any crap, but we really do care about our communities and those within our communities. So I think those are some of the things that we can really do to not only change the course of direction of the things that we give young people access to, but even the conversations that we're having about young people.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for that, because when we talk to, or even when I talk to people about the root causes of what's going on in our community, and I talk about how we failed our kids in so many ways, people look at me like I'm some Pollyanna because I'm not agreeing with let's get more punitive with the kids, because I was a child, I raised kids, so I know these kids are not born to be violent. These are things that are in the environment because, like Ms. Barak said, they have stripped our communities of so much. I look at the community that kids are in today, and I think about when my kids were growing up, when we had roller skating in the community, we had bowling, we had teen centers, we had indoor movies, we had an outdoor movie, we had all of these things in our communities, and they all got stripped away. And like you said, now for our kids to enjoy any of these things, they have to go to suburbs. Why is that? We have a mayor in our city that I know people, myself personally, young people have gone to and put forth proposals to do, have some of these arts and things in the community, and they get shut down. So it just leaves me thinking that we don't really want to solve youth violence. And when you look at how many people are benefiting from this violence in our community, you have to wonder, do they really want to stop the violence or not? So, Robin, I want you to step in because I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in real quick. I definitely agree with all that's been stated. Um, but we have criminalized childhood behavior. We have also criminalized poverty. So when we talk about violence, youth violence in particular, any kind of violence, if we want to eradicate this stuff, we want to see the gangs dissipated, we want to see the gun violence gone, we have to address poverty. Our communities are deserts when it comes to resources, food deserts, job deserts. I mean, recreational deserts, community centers. Every neighborhood should have their own community center because unfortunately, our children do have to face gang violence. And, certain groups can't go on certain sides of this town. And until we can change that, we have to meet these kids where they are and we have to give them what they need. This is not even a matter of what is it do you want? And if we're going to talk about children and we're going to talk about youth violence, we must bring them to the table. The people closest to the problems are closest to the solutions, but oftentimes furthest from the power. It is our job as adults, responsible adults in the village, to make sure that we are empowering our kids with the tools they're going to need to go out into these streets and make wise decisions. Positive decisions that are not going to land them, in the hands of law enforcement, because then we know what happens.
Yes.
I will say that, when we talk about urban trauma, we have to look at restorative justice because we know punishment does not work. Punitive will only have you buckle down and rebel and just want to, do what you want to do no matter what's going to happen. So policy is important, laws are important, but they're not going to stop what's happening in our community. Let's be honest. Just like this talk about all these cameras, in the community meeting last night, I heard a couple of people say, we need more cameras. They were manifesting, more cameras in our community. I don't know about everybody else, but if you ever look, you see footage and videos on social media where people have the ring and people are coming up on their porches, either broad daylight or with their porch lights on. Right? You can see these folks and they're actually trying to break in people's houses. So if they're doing that and you have a ring and a camera that you can actually turn over to the police and this is still happening, I don't believe that cameras in our community is going to solve the problem. Yeah. We have to get on these streets. We have to get on these corners. We have to take them back. We have to roll up our sleeves. We have to love our children through their pain, through their misery, through whatever it is they're going through. And we have to give them the resources that they need around therapy, clinical therapy, to address the PTSD, the depression, the anxiety. And that goes for adults as well, because a lot of this stuff is generational because this is the bubble they put us in. And these are the circumstances that have been dealt to us. And then they want to blame the victim. And yes. I don't think that that is fair. Hurt people hurt people. Wounded people wound people. And I think we have to take a good hard look at that. And the other thing, Ms. Walker and Ms. Baraka were talking about the program that they had, and we was actually having a discussion last night, and I was fascinated to hear, because I know what Believe in Me does in this community, but I didn't know how much they've done. I know what they're doing, but when you look back over the decades, you know what I'm saying? The positive impact that they have had on this community. The fact that that corner is lit. The drug dealers are gone. Police have been able to come and use their surveillance cameras to solve crimes in that community, in our community. I mean, these are the folks that should be getting funded. We throw dollars at programs that are not producing any positive outcomes. And then we have a nonprofit in our community like Believe in Me that actually comes with receipts. They have a proven track record. So we got to make sure that we need to build a village where we are not totally dependent. And I say this totally on the front end because my dream is that we will become a community and a village that is self-sustainable financially, economically, around education, around social, all of that. We need to be able to fund ourselves so that they can't pull the purse strings once we become successful, because that is a technique of sabotage. And
Yes.
that it actually undermines what it is we're trying to do to advance our people. And we know this country was built on our backs. We are geniuses. There was nothing, there's been no movement that has ever been established that has not been birthed out of the bowels of Black women. So when you talk about Black women empowering Black women, we have work to do. But I am very grateful for the Black women, on this panel today. And I really do thank you for the opportunity for us to have this conversation. We've got to get in these streets. We have to educate our people. We got to get back to loving on our babies. We got to hug them. We got to encourage them. It's self-esteem, it's self-confidence. That's what I heard when Sauda was talking. I was like, they were building self-confidence and self-esteem. You carry yourself different when you feel good about yourself. You carry yourself different when you got clean clothes on. And it's the things that we take for granted that many of these babies, and I call them babies, I don't care what age they are, because if you have never been nurtured and cared for and trained up in the way that you should go, you're a baby mentally. So we have to meet them where they are, and we have to meet them with TLC. We can't meet them, and don't get me wrong, some of them do need to be, arrested and dealt with. We have to be honest about that. But that's
But we can
because
do it in
we
a
have
loving
not,
way.
right, but that's because we have not done our job on the front end.
Right.
And I need for more adults in our community to take responsibility for that and then come forward with some action that is going to help to change the trajectory of these children's lives. Because we talk about kids of the future. Nah, these children are right now. And if we don't get it right now, we won't have a future.
Thank you, Robin. You've
I
given
think,
me
oh,
so
sorry.
much to think about. But I want to also, before I bring in Barbara and Sade again, I want to talk about, just mention, because you were talking about communities coming together and all the work that we have to do. Next Wednesday, September 5th, at the Stetson Library, 5 o'clock, there's going to be a program that Jackie James Boyd and her husband are putting together to address people when they come home, including the families. Because we talk about people who've been formerly incarcerated, but what about the resources for the families? Because they need a lot also. So I want to turn it over to both of the people in probation, because I know probation officers have a role as an alternative to incarceration, and also when people go to prison and have to come out, and what kind of resources are available to actually help people and the probation services.
Well, what I find is, yeah, they have the resources, but the only people that are being offered those resources don't look like us. They don't. When you sitting up there and you got a file of 5 files, and this is a white kid, white woman, you got one of a Black woman, same charges. She's in jail. She gets the resources.
Wow.
And there lies the problem. That's one of the issues I found. I'm sure Sauda will agree. And that's why when we envision, believe in me, everything you just said, we were meeting the parents. We were talking to the parents, because as we engaged with the children, the parents started coming around and volunteering and sharing and all those things. And I know Sauda could attest to this, but we didn't just go after any kid. We went after the worst of the worst. And we were able to make inroads with the worst of the worst, the kids that says nobody can do anything with them, right? But we also created a program called SWAG, where we went after the kid who wouldn't necessarily be getting in trouble, but he would not also be afforded what we had to offer because he wasn't getting in trouble. So the kids getting in trouble, they going on farms and stuff, but the kid is just trying to do the right thing and maintain, is not getting anything. So we built SWAG around those kids, that they're good kids, they're not in the system, but why don't we do the same thing for them? Why should they used to have to be penalized because they didn't commit a crime?
Right.
And I think Sauda can speak a little more to that.
Yeah, the idea behind working with children is, the biggest part is listening. We want to be able to hear what they have to say, asking questions, and then listening for what they see as their success. One of the questions we would ask is, how do you define success? What does success mean to you? And the children would come back with some real legitimate responses. And from that, we build programming around, just like you said, Representative Robin, that we want to make sure that what people are saying to us, we deliver to them. Also, the culturally based piece, we know based on research that people respond when they know that it's culturally sensitive and culturally based. They can identify with it. When there are people sitting or standing in front of them that look like them, that they can identify with, they do better. So when we're developing programming, I believe in me, we're a African American based program. And we come from an Afrocentric perspective to deal with, communicate with, and have expectations for the people we serve, because we're serving them. We're not administering to them, and we're not telling them, we're serving them. And we've done things within the program with our adults. I'll back up a second. When we were doing the youth program, the second phase of that program was we were going to bring the parents or the caregivers in, because oftentimes the young people are with caregivers, either extended family or some other support system. So we wanted to bring the adults into the program and begin to do exactly what we were just talking about. How do we help those families? But before we can help anybody, we have to listen. We have to hear what it is they need. And then we have to develop programming around that. Things cannot happen top down. We can't have the people who caused the problem saying they have the solution.
Right.
They don't have a solution for the problem you created. You created the problem. So we now have to fix it, but we can't fix it unless we talk to the people who this impacts. Just as you were saying, Representative McGee, that we don't listen to our younger people. We have to open up and listen. And not just listen, but hear and then act. Once we hear them and they tell us what they want, then we need to create the programming to be able to impact them. So that's part of what Believe in Me has been doing. And in every program that we develop, because we have a program at 320 Shelton Avenue, and the first floor is a cultural center. And that the idea there is to be able to bring the community in and to address issues around, and culture doesn't necessarily mean, it does mean art, music, dance, but it also means the culture of a community. That means politics. How do we interact with the people who have say over our lives? So how do we teach people to stand up and testify before a commission or before a board? How do we build capacity in them so that they're able to feel strong and to be able to speak their truth? These are the things that we have to begin to do and that we have been doing. But it's been piecemeal because we have to beg and fight for dollars. We would not have been funded for that program the first time had it not been for Representative Barbara, help me out because I'm such bad with names. He's the one that went to the legislature or to CS, Connecticut State University, and got us the resources to building bridges.
Is it Dyson?
Dyson,
Yeah,
Bill Dyson.
Representative
Dyson.
Dyson. We had to sit down with him, and he then went and got the money. We presented the because we applied and we couldn't get any money. We had to sit with him, and he went and helped us get the money, and we were able to run that program until he left. And that's when everything fell apart. Mm-hmm.
And what happened was CIP, so $1 million came out for children of incarcerated parents. So instead of them either splitting it or giving it to us, once the $1 million came on the table, they just took it. They just took it. Where did they send it to, Soda?
Well, they decided they no longer wanted to do direct service. So what they did is they wanted to do more research. I don't have a problem with research, but I think we're researched enough. We know what the problem is in our community, and we know how to fix it. And so one of the and because we had the track record, and because we had the evaluation that had been conducted by Yale, we could show where we were being impactful and we were changing lives. So when we went to them to expand the program, and we we connected with a couple of other agencies. So we were doing we were going to do more of a universal move with the new money. They decided, no, we don't want that. We don't want direct service. We're going to go research. And then they found a program, I think it was in Cheshire or something. And they, no, it was Big Brother, Big Sister. I think they gave the money to for research. And then nobody ever heard anything else about it again. And this is the problem. And that's, again, going back to how do we mobilize our community for the things that we need to have done. That's how we mobilize the community, by saying, here are the issues. You tell us this is the issue. These are the issues. We then go and we push that issue out. And I'll say this because I didn't say in the beginning, I'm the chairperson for the Bridgeport Working Families Town Committee. And that's part of the work we're doing. And that is grassroots movement, empowering the people, organizing the community, getting people, addressing issues. If there's a bombshell out there, we're going to toss it out there and say, this is what's going on. And so that we can motivate people. And that's part of what we do at Believe in Me Empowerment. We address the issues. The agency never closed during COVID. The agency was probably one of 2 or 3 agencies that stayed open throughout the entire time, impacting and affecting and assisting and serving the community, the greater New Haven community, specifically the New Hallville, Dixwell community. And if we don't have people who will lobby and argue for us, if we don't have people who will come to the table and fight, that's our job. We will mobilize the community and make it happen. We'll make sure that the people who come to see us understand that there's a reason that this happens. And the reason it happens is because we have resources, and the resources come from outside our community. And those resources are at the state or local level. And we need you as a community go in there and fight the battle to ensure that programs like Believe in Me stay in place to continue to serve our community. Because if we don't do it, again, nobody else will.
Okay, now my challenge is really coming in now because we have very few minutes left, and I really wanted to talk about politics, some things that I'm seeing. For one thing, I just want to put this out here, Robin, because I've been noticing this lately, and I think I know why it's happening. Maybe you can explain. You're everywhere. That's how I used to be. Everywhere you go, every meeting, you're there. Yeah, when I read articles later about it, I wouldn't even know you were there. So I know they do that too. The media will ice you out. But I'm wondering, are you feeling that within the state legislature as well? Because I don't know. It just seems like there's a vibe going in there that it's like Robin is the bad guy for standing up for us. I don't know. Just tell me what's going on, because I'm just observing from outside.
Well, I mean, I have made the same observations that you've made, and I've had other people say the same thing that you just said, because they've actually been at events and read the articles and were like, "Dang, they had an elected official, and there was no mention, no quote, no picture, or maybe they said your name, but oftentimes that's not even the case." So there is ramifications. There is definitely ramifications for operating the way that I operate. I always said right out the gate, the special election that I won this seat in, my lit that I was mailing out said, not politics as usual. Technically, am I a politician? Sure, that's what they call me. But I more feel like a stateswoman, and I've been told by some elders in this business that is really what you are, a public servant. And I serve from my heart, and I serve in truth, and I stand in truth. And it takes courage to do that, but you get beat down. And I am called the troublemaker. That is actually, what they call me at the Capitol. Here comes trouble. And they've actually said, "Oh, here comes trouble. What kind of trouble are you getting in now?" And I thank God for the good congressman. God rest his soul, because it is good trouble and it is necessary trouble. And it's disheartening, because it's a lot of what Saud just shared with us. We have people that are supposed to be fighting for us on the strength of our needs, what we need in our communities, what our children need in education, healthcare, all of that stuff straight across the board. You can take a look at the committees. There's not one thing that we do in that building that does not touch people's lives. But there is a machine, right? There are rules, and I say air quotes because I'm told to follow the rules and play by the rules. And then I see people that don't follow the rules, break the rules, or just make some new rules. We just gonna change the rules on you. But yet when I'm operating, I'm all, oftentimes it's, oh, you need to, play by the, and you gotta play the game. And I'm like, I didn't come to play the game. I came to change the game. And we often say, be the change you want to see. But when you exercise that, you get punished for that, and I think a lot of what I'm experiencing is, the backlash behind having a backbone, standing up. When nobody else wants to stand up, I stand up. And I'm not saying things that people don't want to say. Like people will tell me in the background, girl, I agree with you, or we'll be all together having this conversation and everybody is gung ho. And when we hit the floor, I'm up, right? But when I turn around, it's like where my people at. So I just want to give credit to what they've coined themselves to be in that building, the Porta Posse. You know who you are. And for all the support that I get in these streets, because I tell you, I said it last night, I feel the only reason I'm still in office is because of the support that I get from my community, from my constituents, and from around the state of Connecticut. And I have to say, Democrats, let me just say this though, Democrats and Republicans. So it's not just a one-party support that I have. I have the support of both parties. And I believe that Democrats aren't always right and Republicans aren't always wrong. And we need to work together.
Okay, we're going to get ready to get cut off. So I just wanted to hurry up if I can get in 30 seconds to say that there's this chance that we got now, Black to vote. And I say, let's black the power struggle inside of these institutions and these systems of justice. When we black that's something to be proud of, instead of supporting those people that we know don't care nothing about us. And yet our Black organizations will go out and push them. How about we push some of our own people to be in those positions of real power? And Ms. Baraka, I'm going to hopefully get you in for it, but I know we're running out. Oh, I got to say bye. Sorry. Thank you so much, ladies. It was a real challenge.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Everyone have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Love you guys. Have a blessed weekend. Yes.
As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission. I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains. Haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah. Cause this is my road.